Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to America's award-winning car talk show, In Wheel Time, your weekly go-to all things automotive place. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars and King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday. This is our live edition broadcast, if you happen to be watching on our social media platforms, that also goes into podcast form once Mars gets home and
chops them up into about half-hour segments.
Yeah, half-hour segments. So if you miss any parts of the show, you can always pick it up in podcast form in 30-minute synchronous individual.
And they're topical as well. You know, each segment has
we
its
would
own
like to think so.
Topic.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, I think the last half hour, the segment with Todd was awesome. What a great! I'm going to go buy his book, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, I love the whole history thing, and especially that first-gen Bronco. You know, with all the excitement that we've seen this week over the introduction or reintroduction of the all-new Bronco that's actually going to be available at dealers in the spring of next year. If you're just now joining us and you don't really know what's going on with the Bronco, they debuted it on a digital platform, also on the Disney platforms as well, last Monday night. Huge hit. And the buzz all this week has been about the new Bronco. And speaking of which, we want to apologize to our EV people that may be tuning in because of a promo that we did. We were going to talk about EVs, at least half of the show, and the other half was going to be on Broncos. Well, we had to drop the EVs because
so many of them,
they've all gone out of business.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them, but a lot of them have gone out of business. I mean, this whole COVID-19 thing has just really killed everybody.
Damaged a lot of people, right?
And so those that were sitting on the edge of being in business and not in business, out of business. At least they've shut down their business. We started trying to get a hold of them last week, as a matter of fact, and we found out that we couldn't get a hold of anybody. Nobody would answer our emails. And then a little bit further depth into the research, we found out that they're
closed the doors.
Closed the doors. Yeah. You know, the EV thing is, to me, right now, is a tough business to begin with, and because, as I've mentioned on this show, and especially with my reviews of EVs, the infrastructure really isn't there, in my opinion, to be able to afford a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 EV and not be able to get it charged up.
And $130,000, $150,000 when you look at some of the Highline Teslas.
Absolutely. And it's a major problem in my estimation. And the range anxiety that I had was horrible. Why would I put myself through that? I think that in the next few years, I think that is going to actually take care of itself. Matter of fact, I read a press release this week that there is a company that is spending like $1 bajillion in more infrastructure, more charging stations, fast charging stations. You know, you can go from actually almost no charge at all to a full charge within about 30, 40 minutes.
And that's probably going to be somewhat regionally set up where the EVs are very popular right now, because an EV in Central Texas isn't going to be a popular sale, but an EV in Metro New York, an EV in downtown Houston, California, San Francisco, LA, they sell a lot of pure electric. So that's probably where that infrastructure is going to get set up first.
Well, you know, it makes sense, because if you think about it, you know, particularly in LA, where you sit in traffic for an extended period of time, well, you're using just a little bit of energy to keep the air conditioner on. So you're sitting in traffic. Well, there's a big difference in sitting in traffic and going down the freeway at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
A huge difference. And so it really sucks the energy out. So that's my...
Well, I know General Motors has been talking about their new platform setup, their what I call the skateboard of an EV. So it's wheels, tires, powertrain, battery pack, and then they can just plop any kind of body they want on it. And they're talking about they're going to be here shortly releasing a pickup truck that's going to have a 400-mile range. Now, that range is going to vary depending on how much of a truck you use, because I imagine if you throw a lot of weight in it and you're going to try and do things, that's going to shorten its range. But a 400-mile range on a battery pack is substantial, considering
Absolutely.
a lot of vehicles a gas-powered vehicle, normally about 300 miles is about what you're going to get on a tank full of fuel.
But you can stop right at the intersection about within a mile where there's a gas station on every corner and fill it up. Yeah, and you can fill it up.
Right.
Whereas an EV, the charging stations are not so numerous out there on the open road. Yeah. So there is that. So, and, we were talking about the Bronco earlier, and it made me think, which is a difficult thing for me to do to begin with.
That's what we smelled.
That's what you smelled, brain burning, is the fact that the car manufacturers, even though that there is no EV or a hybrid form of the Bronco being announced at this time, it's strictly gasoline. Oh. You know as well as I do that they have developed that new Bronco platform to be able to accept batteries and an electric motor.
And a gas-electric hybrid, because when you look at that powertrain that they put in it, and then look at what they had in the Fusion, what they have in some of their other vehicles, that's an easy transfer of that powertrain into the Bronco.
Well, the other thing is that they're already getting really good gas mileage out of those turbocharged engines that Ford puts out to begin with. Yeah, the 4-cylinder, that's going to be the base engine in it, and the EcoBoost V6, that's going to have 300 horsepower in it.
It's going to have the power of a V8.
Yeah. And then you start gearing it down into an off-road vehicle. Well, all of the torque that it has will be used in a gear that's,
20 to 1 by the time you do the multiplication from a 2 to 1 transfer case and a 410 rear gear.
Yeah. So you know that all of these new vehicles, they've all been engineered to either go to a hybrid or to a pure electric somewhere in its future, and not too distant future.
I was going to say not too distant future, because it's an easy transition. And then some of that transition is this dual mode hybrid, like Ram's using on the, what do they call it, the e-boost?
E-Torque.
E-Torque.
Where it's not full electric, it's not full hybrid, but it's an electric boost to what you're doing to kind of help your fuel economy.
And I don't think most people really understand that. It's a $1,500 option, and I think we figured if you did 30,000 miles over a couple of year period of time, that over 3 years you'd be able to recover that $1,500.
But that's the genius of e-Torque, is it helps you get started, it helps you get moving to reduce your fuel's consumption.
Yeah, exactly.
So that hybrid powertrain, the full electric powertrain, or the hybrid boost, all of those things are going to be very easy to transition onto all new cars, and I'm sure all manufacturers are designing that into the platform itself.
Yeah. And the other thing is diesels. And you say what you will about diesels, and I'm not a huge diesel fan, but diesels to me would really be, if you could keep the weight down and you not go super heavy duty on the weight category with the diesel would be, seems to me, the perfect off-road engine to have.
Oh, well, and that's why Jeep's putting it in the Wrangler.
Right.
Because you're talking about low-speed torque. That's what diesel does, is it's about low-speed torque. And when you're doing off-roading, you don't want to have a lot of RPM in the engine, because then you start losing grip and stuff gets a little weird. But that low-speed torque is where the diesel shines. And Ford has a small diesel that they sell in the Transit van. I don't have one.
Do they?
Yeah, they have a small. They call it a Power Stroke diesel. There's no relation to the Power Stroke that they sell, the 6.7, 6.4, 6.0, 7.3. But it's a small inline. I believe it's an inline 5-cylinder engine.
I never understood a 5-cylinder engine. I know that General Motors had one, and it was a total piece of.
Well, Audi had
that
one.
Was in the Hummer that had absolutely
was in the
no
H3?
Power.
Nothing.
It was in the H3.
Oh.
It was gutless. But Audi was really, to my knowledge, kind of the first one to come out with a lot of 5-cylinders. And there was a whole generation of 5-cylinder Audis.
Okay, well, I understand through a note-passing thing that you probably saw if you're watching us, that Mr. Mars sent me a note and said that...
You're cute. Will you take him to the prom?
He did say that. That was in the note. You looked over his shoulder, didn't you, cheater?
I read it on the way by. And the teacher's going to take it and give it to the principal, and both of you boys are going to go to detention.
Thank you very much. So Seth Burgess is joining us now. He's the CEO of Gateway Bronco and the owner of the first Bronco ever built. Seth, great to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today.
You bet. So tell me about Gateway, and I understand that you guys actually have some classic Broncos. You're a Bronco kind of guy.
Yes, we are. So, in 2016, our 17-year-old daughter asked to go cross country in a Bronco, and I took her up on it. And we went from Walden Pond to Niagara to Glacier to Seattle and down Pacific Coast Highway in an original paint, unrestored Ford Bronco with drum brakes. And so,
whoa, that had to be a fun ride on the PCH.
It was good. We ended up having only 2 hours of fuel as we went through Big Sky Country. 2 tanks and 2 hours of fuel is all we got. We pulled a 1965 tent camper. That was our first real experience with the Bronco, and just have been in love ever since. And so, we as we went through time, you mentioned the first Bronco. We were offered from the second owner an opportunity to buy the prototype Bronco. The Bronco was owned by Carroll Shelby for 10 years, gifted from Ford to Carroll, and the first V8. And those classic pictures of Donald Fry debuting the Bronco have been proven over time to be that first prototype.
Well, I'll say, and I assume that is that the blue one that I see in a picture that you sent us?
It is, yes. And we're just so excited because it runs and drives, 3 on the tree, the first sport model, first V8. And the cool thing about it is Ford used the Carroll Shelby trick of repainting that vehicle multiple times and then having it reconfigured from the Roadster to the full wagon to the half cab, and then taking plentiful amount of pictures and video to be able to do the advertising.
I'm going to give real props to your daughter, because if she knows how to drive a 3-speed on the tree, she knows something that a lot of kids don't.
I can't say that our daughter does, but our 18-year-old son certainly does, and he's driven that, and that was one of the earliest vehicles he's ever driven. So I thought that was pretty special.
So, Seth, tell me a little bit about Gateway Broncos and what you do.
Sure. We essentially take the first generation Bronco. We make it reliable. We make it fun. We make it something that you can drive on a daily basis. We warranty it throughout North America and Europe. And we essentially put a Mustang GT powertrain in the Bronco. We upgrade the suspension so you can drive it on the canyon roads, or you can drive it down the interstate with 2 fingers on the wheel. So reimagining the original Bronco with maintaining the essence of the original character. I mean, I really think hard about what did Donald Fry and Lee Iacocca really want in that original machine, and if they had built it today, what would they do with modern technology? And that's essentially what we do. We do it on an assembly line the way Henry Ford envisioned, and we produce a lot of this first generation Bronco with a Coyote engine and 10-speed automatic.
So
Coyote engine.
So I assume that this has a completely custom built frame underneath it.
Not always. We have, as many people know, we're licensed from Ford Motor Company, and we're able to provide you with an original Bronco frame and a completely reimagined vehicle with modern technology, but maintaining that original frame and that original kind of suspension architecture. And then, there's another licensee that builds the frame, and that's Thomas Kinzer. Many people know Kinzer Engineering, and he has just a magnificent 4-link suspension that we would use for a new frame application, and that's also available under our Ford licenses to build you a brand new vehicle in 2020 that is a reproduction of the original, except upgraded with a modern chassis and brand new body.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have your video today, so we're only listening to you in audio form. But where can people, our viewers and followers, go to see what you do, how much it costs, what's involved in it, not only restoring the classics. I don't know how you keep a frame of a classic first-gen Bronco from not twisting itself in two with a great big Coyote engine in it, but I guess that's a secret that you'll have to explain to somebody later on. But at any rate, so tell me more about how you get into your world of Broncos.
Sure. Well, we have a way you can build your own Bronco on our website, and it's gatewaybronco.com. So that's gatewaybronco.com. And we have 3 models to choose from. You choose a model and you can select every option that you'd like. And at the end of the process, get a build sheet and know exactly what you'd be getting, from Porsche leather to American Bison leather, which is one of my favorites. You can get the 2.3 liter EcoBoost in the Bronco, or you can get an EV Bronco, which you were just speaking of. And we have a fantastic EV system to get you over 240 miles of range. And
where are you located, Seth?
We are located in the Midwest in St. Louis market, right off of Route 66.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess that you go to the drag strip.
Hence the Gateway.
Yes, the Gateway, the drag strip.
Well, ironically, I race a vintage Shelby Mustang, a 67 Shelby Mustang on the road course at Gateway.
Of course you do.
Past Tuesday.
Well, listen, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. And I have to ask you before we let you go, what do you think about that new Bronco?
We love it. We've got over 100 on allocation that we personally put on reserve.
So they were the ones who were jamming up the system as he was botting the $100
That's why Todd couldn't get one.
Have you read Todd's book?
Todd can give us a call. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, we're all excited about the Bronco. I know that the media has exploded in the past week since its debut on Monday night, and we had to ask you. And, I have a feeling that it'll probably enhance your business. Most people might think, oh, well, his business is dead. No, I think it's going to enhance it, because I think that with all this attention that it's now brought to the Bronco brand, that people are going to go, hey, I really like the new Bronco, but how cool would it be to have a real retro one?
And elevate all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's been proven over and over again. When the new Challenger came out, it improved the previous, the vintage. When the new Hemi came out, the previous Hemi, the vintage Hemi was more valuable. Same thing with the Mustang GT and the Shelby side, the vintage Shelbys. Same thing with the Ford GT and the GT40. They all raised in value on the vintage side. And so I think we're going to see the same thing here. And our clients want both. They want to have a vintage and they want to have a new vehicle. So we're doubling our volume.
GatewayBronco.com. Seth, it's great to talk to you.
I posted a link on our Facebook page.
Fantastic. Have a great day.
You do the same. Thanks again. That's pretty cool.
I know, isn't it, though?
Yeah, very much so.
Give me a Gen 1 Bronco with a Coyote engine in it.
It's like a resto mod.
And then take delivery of your brand new one, have his and hers in the garage.
Drive your new one up there to pick it up to his place, and then bring them both home.
I love it. Great idea. I'll ride with you. All right, time now for Ram Tracks. It will times we can look into the Ram Nation. Mr. Mars?
So a lot of people, when you buy a truck, one of the big things people look at is towing, what you can tow and what you can haul with it and everything. So trying to figure out, a lot of times, if you're kind of new at that, or even if you're just very specific about what you do, you may be wondering what some things weigh or how much you can do. If you go to ramtrucks.com and go up underneath, they've got a section there called Towing Capabilities, and under that you're going to find something that says Towing Info. And you're going to find that there is a chart there that gives you some very specifics about some items to give you an idea of what it is. If you're looking to tow your boat trailer, I mean, that can be 300 to 1,500 pounds. A box trailer can be, depending on size, 507 pounds. A car trailer, if you're hauling cars or you want to take your car to the drag strip, 2,800 pounds for the trailer itself, and then figure in your car on top of that you're going to be pulling with it. So there's a lot of things in there, and it goes on down through cars and RVs, construction equipment, even building material like plywood. I didn't realize plywood weighs 3 pounds per square foot per inch of thickness. So you can figure out how many sheets of plywood weight-wise you can carry in this vehicle. And it goes on down through a lot of other things, upfits and some other things. And it also has a chart about some things that you might hear, some terms you may hear like GCVW, gross combined vehicle weight. And it gives you some definition so that when you go to buy or you go to look at your truck, you can get a little bit better idea, understanding of what you're talking about and looking for.
Thank you, sir. Coming up next here on In Wheel Time, Conrad's Car Clinic.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're on the In Wheel Time Car Show. Thanks for riding with us today. Time for Conrad's Car Clinic. And we were talking earlier, actually, right before we got on the air this morning, and that is the fact that, part of the fluid change thing that I need to do in the Corvette. Corvette's 20 years old, and it's only got 24,000 miles on it. And one of the things that I know I need to do is change all of the fluids in it.
Because they're old.
Well, I can relate to that.
And a little wore out.
Yeah.
And probably a little contaminated. And people have heard me say this before. All fluids, all lubricants in your vehicle basically do 3 things. They do a lot more than that, but if we look at it as 3 things. They cool, they lubricate, and they clean. And in cleaning, it isn't that they go in and physically scrub clean, but they deliver contaminants to a filter. Well, the power steering system really doesn't have a filter in it. Some of them may have a bit of a screen, but there is no physical filter. Now, when you get on some of the big trucks and stuff, they may have a filter on it. And power steering fluid tends to be a bit of a forgotten fluid as well. And with that, if you're not looking at your power steering fluid on a regular interval, the opportunity for an expensive repair to come behind is quite high. Putting a power steering rack in or power steering pump can cost well north of $1,500, $2,000.
What?
Oh, easily. Rack, you're gonna spend $1,200 just on the rack, and then you think some of them are relatively complicated to get off. Some are real simple to get off, but spending $1,500, $2,000 might not be unusual.
Well, thanks a lot for that vote of confidence.
On the newer vehicles. So you got to look at what's happening to the fluid. Now, in today's vehicles, probably about half of them actually use an electronic power steering system right now. So whether it's an electronic motor or they use a series of magnets to assist the steering, older style vehicles use a hydraulic pump, and that pump is driven by the belt on the front of the engine. And that pump is generally mounted right in front of an exhaust manifold, so the fluid gets hot quick. And you're talking about fluids that are probably in the 250 to 300 degree range would not be unusual. So that fluid degrades over time just by the heat, and it oxidizes and it changes color. Talking about color in power steering systems, there could be one of 3 colors of fluid that's out there. There's an amber color. There's a red color. Now, amber and red basically are the same fluid, just with a dye in it. And then there's a green color, and the green is a full synthetic fluid. We sell one at BG. There's another brand out there called Pentosin, and it's generally used in the Highline imports.
Any relationship to Mr. Coctosin?
I have no idea, and I'm not going to go there because it came from you, so I'm going to avoid the error of following that up with a question. So, again, those fluids need to be changed regularly. The things that you want to look for, because one of the things about power steering I said is there's no filter in there. So if you get the system running, turn it off, pull the dipstick out, and get a little bit on your finger and rub it on your finger and see whether or not you can feel a little bit of abrasiveness inside of the fluid. And that abrasiveness is caused by the hoses beginning to deteriorate on the inside. You know, every time you roll the steering wheel all the way to one end and it goes bzzz, you know, that is the swelling and contracting of the hoses. So over time, those hoses will deteriorate and put that abrasive inside of there. That's why you want to get it out. Get your power steering fluid checked, get it replaced on a regular interval. It's not that expensive to do, and it'll save you a ton of money in the long run.
Mr. Cocktoson happened to have been one of characters of Chevy Chase in the movie Fletch. Thank you very much.
Dude, you may want to slow down. There's a cop car up there. Hey, man, there's another cop. I'd think about putting your seatbelt on if I were you. And if you could sober up in less than 5 seconds, that'd be cool, too.
As America gets back on the road, a lot of things have changed, but not the need for drivers to be safe. Cops are enforcing traffic safety laws in our community to save lives. Paid for by NHTSA.
If you had any idea how many buttons and slide faders and stuff I've got to try to change and move and push on and push off and that sort of thing, you'd be amazed at what I'm doing over here.
Well, that's only because you want to shut us up, so you're the only one talking.
And you know what? I can do that. Time now for this hour's headlines here on the Good Wheel Time program. Subaru ranked highest among mass market brands, and Lexus topped the luxury brands in the 2020 J.D. Power U.S. Automotive Brand Loyalty Study that was released this past Wednesday. Subaru also ranked highest overall. Rounding out the top five were Honda at 58.7%, Ram at 57.3%, and Ford at 54.3%. Brand loyalty is increasing among new vehicle owners, a study found. Tyson Jominy, Vice President of Data and Analytics at J.D. Power, who we've talked to before, said automakers have ramped up efforts to maintain customer loyalty during the coronavirus pandemic. No surprise there.
Did you hear that FCA had 3 models that made the Auto Trader's summer car top 10 list?
I did.
Jeep Wrangler, Ram 1500, the Jeep Grand Cherokee were all top cars on the Auto Trader's summer top 10 list.
Well, speaking of FCA-branded vehicles, the merged unit of Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and PSA Group will be known as Stellantis, the two automakers announced on Wednesday. The automaker said the name will be used exclusively at the group level as a corporate brand, and that the names and logos of the group's constituent brands will remain unchanged, meaning
good, because I can't spell Stellantis.
Stellantis. The company said the name is rooted in the Latin verb stello. I wonder if it has
Stella!
anything, or either that or stiletto, which means to brighten with stars.
And your matching shoes.
The company said the next step will be the unveiling of a logo. The group will create the world's 4th largest automaker. PSA's considerable footprint in Europe could complement FCA's strength here in North America. The completion of the merger is expected in the first quarter of 2021. And moving on to Jeep, Fiat Chrysler's free-spirited brand, ahead of Monday's debut of the all-new Bronco variants, threw down the gauntlet in the off-road wilderness with the V8-powered Wrangler Rubicon 392 concept.
Oh, my gosh. Hold on tight.
The concept released early Monday before the Bronco debut. Tops out. Remember when we had Jim Morrison on here 2 weeks ago? He said he had something up his sleeve. Well, here it came out of the sleeve.
Got something under his hood.
The concept released early Monday tops out at 450 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque and boasts a 0 to 60 time of less than 5 seconds.
And don't you know Morrison has just got a big smile on his face?
In a Wrangler.
They got a turbo 4-cylinder and a turbo V6.
Oh,
I got a Hemi.
Oh, my God. So the Wrangler's predecessor, the CJ, was the last to have a V8 in 1981. That model, Fiat Chrysler Automobile said, delivered 125 horsepower and 220 pound-feet of torque. The concept sounds production ready. It's equipped with Dana 44 axles, full-time 2-speed transfer case, electric front and rear axle lockers, 37-inch mud terrain tires, and a Jeep Performance Parts 2-inch lift kit from Mopar, along with suspension enhancements and a more robust 8-speed automatic transmission. The exterior features a heavy-duty raised performance hood and an aggressive appearance. The interior is highlighted by red leather seats and a performance steering wheel.
And you can't wait to get one to drive.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and you know that we will.
Oh, yeah.
It might not be right out of the box, but it's going to be pretty close to it. I am thrilled, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait.
Because you know we're going to get one.
And
hoping.
Mars wants to do the off-road acceleration Doesn't have to be the on-ramp.
Oh, really?
The off-road accelerator. He'd take it out to the beach and go blazing down the beach. The beach is empty right now, isn't it?
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, count on that.
Yeah. So that's it for this hour, hour number 2 of our show. After a quick break, this is In Wheel Time, and we are all things automotive.
Is your business or company